Hello, good evening and welcome back to Andy's Cavern. Boxing fans out there, how are we all tonight? We all good? Hope you're all well out there. Enjoying the festivities. Not overdoing it though. Save yourself for New Year for Hogmanay. What we're thinking tonight? Well, I've been thinking about how Alexander Usyk would rate compared to, now I'm only going to go back 75 years and how he would rate against all the past champions. Now there's many champions on the list, especially when it comes into WBO, when there's WBO, IBF, WBA, WBC, but I was just kind of looking at the main guys through history. So going back 75 years, it was approaching the end of the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, his reign. So I'm going from there onwards, and I'm going to look at who I thought would have troubled Usyk. You're never going to know, it's just all hypothetical. You're never going to know who would have won. It's one of the ones, isn't it? You can always, this is only my opinion, so you'll have your own opinions out there. It doesn't mean it's just because it's my opinion, I'm not saying that's right. I'm very happy to agree to disagree on most things. So I've got two lists here. I've got a wee list of people I think would have give Usyk trouble. So, and I've also got a list of who I thought would give Usyk a good fight. Now all this is maybe a bit random to you guys, but this is just my take on it. So I mean, after Joe Louis there was a heavyweight boxer called Jersey Joe Walcott, who I thought was a very skillful boxer. I think he was somewhere in the region of 37, 38 when he actually became champion. So back in the days he was probably past his best. At that point he gave Rocky Marciano a brilliant fight. If it had been a 12-round fight he would have won, but Marciano knocked him out in the 13th round with a short right hand, a Suzy Q as he called it, his pet punch. Personally, I think Jersey Joe Walcott would have given Usyk a good fight, because Jersey Joe Walcott was very skillful as well. He had good footwork. This is just my opinion. If you want to have a look at YouTube, I'm sure you'll find fights of Jersey Joe Walcott. If you've maybe seen him already and you're well aware of him, if you're an avid boxing fan, a hardcore fan, you'll know who I'm talking about then. Muhammad Ali, I think he would have given Usyk plenty of trouble. But I mean, back in these days, I think I spoke about Russ and Porky's Corner about this. There didn't seem to be many southpaws back in these days. Now whether, I don't know, some of you guys might know, whether or not left-handed people back then were maybe forced to fight orthodox, because that was the way it was deemed you had to fight. So that is a possibility. So I've got Jersey Joe Walcott, Muhammad Ali. Now all these guys in their prime we're talking about. Try to compare people in their primes, aren't I? That's probably the best way. Big George Foreman, I think he would have given Usyk trouble. Though Usyk's better footwork, etc. I think Big George could have given trouble. Big George gave most people trouble, and you could have probably say Usyk would have had him on conditioning. Certainly in his first reign. In his second reign, George Foreman was well conditioned for distance, but in his second reign he was a bit slower and more lumbering, but a tough man, big strong man, but then not a lot bigger than Usyk. Even in the second reign, I think Usyk was actually heavier than him. If you compare to, might say, the Mark 1 version of George Foreman, like Rumble in the Jungle time, I think Usyk's the same height and slightly heavier at that time, like if you compare him to what he's fighting now. Another guy I think would give Usyk trouble is Larry Holmes. Very skillful fighter, brilliant jab, probably one of the best jabs. And and an all-round good fighter. I can't think any southpaws Larry Holmes fought either, but maybe you guys know. I'll maybe have to do deeper research if I was to find that out. But I think Larry Holmes, this is just kind of looking at things style-wise. I think Larry Holmes' style could have given Usyk trouble. Lennox Lewis, the last undisputed champion before Usyk became undisputed champion, so somewhere in the region of 25 years before Lewis became undisputed by beating Holyfield. Some people say, I've seen in comment sections and like Facebook posts and that people think Lewis would have smashed Usyk, too big and too good and all this, but I've got a picture somewhere of Usyk standing next to Lennox Lewis, and there's not that big a size difference. There's only a couple of inches in height, and I thought Lewis's best fighting weight was probably about 17.2, so you're only talking about a stone heavier. So that, I don't think that's too much for Usyk to negate. Again, the southpaw skills never stops moving Usyk, so he could give anybody a hard night. I'm not saying he could beat Lewis, but I'm saying he would. Lewis would give him trouble, but equally Usyk would give Lewis trouble. Lewis fought a guy called, if you remember back, Zeljuko Maverick. He was I think he was Croatian or something, and he was a European heavyweight champion at the time. And he took Lewis the distance, and again, he didn't stop moving, if I remember right. He was a tough guy, and I think he weighed similar to Usyk. I think it was high 15s, mid to high 15s, 15 stone 9 or 10, somewhere about that sort of weight. So if somebody like that can give Lewis trouble, I think Usyk would equally give him trouble. Evander Holyfield, he's another guy that's come up from cruiserweight. He was undisputed cruiserweight champion and undisputed heavyweight, as was Usyk, or is Usyk. Again, that would be interesting. Holyfield lost to southpaw Michael Moorer, didn't he? So, and I rate Usyk higher than Michael Moorer. Certainly Usyk's got a very resilient, great chin, and he can turn it on late in a fight, can't he? He can turn on the pressure and just something else. So, like I say, I'm not saying Usyk's going to beat all these guys, but these are guys I think would give him trouble and possibly beat him. So we've got Jersey Joe Walcott, Ali, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, and the next guy I've got, the last guy on that part of the list, is Vitali Klitschko. Vitali Klitschko I think is underrated. I think, I might be wrong, but it's just my opinion, I think he would have beaten Tyson Fury. I don't think Fury beat Vladimir Klitschko, but I think Vitali Klitschko had a style that Fury would have struggled with, and I think Usyk would have give Usyk more trouble than Vladimir Klitschko. There's stories about Usyk sparring Vladimir Klitschko and making him look silly. I think Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson from Sky Sports were there at the time and witnessed this. So it's not just a fantasy story or mythical story. It's fact, I believe. So Vitali Klitschko, yeah, I think he had a much more awkward style than his brother, and I think he was a better fighter, a tougher guy. He gave Lennox Lewis plenty of trouble, didn't he? And he was 6'8" and probably mid 17 stones, wasn't he? So big guy, fit guy, well conditioned. I think he could have given Usyk trouble. So what have we got? In my eyes, if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on that reckoning, in the past 75 years, I've got Usyk's got to be in the top 8 the heavyweight champions that I can see. I think the guys before that, I think he'd have probably beat most of them, and Joe Lewis included. Joe Lewis had a brilliant jab, but Joe Lewis was quite slow feet, if I remember right. If you compared him to Muhammad Ali or somebody like that, and I think Usyk's got brilliant feet, so I just don't see Joe Lewis Joe catching Usyk. And that's no disrespect to Joe. I mean, nowadays training methods, nutrition and everything's come on leaps and bounds compared to back then. But I think some of the old methods are probably still some of the best methods, but there is things since these days it's been fine-tuned. And people have got a lot more knowledge now, don't they? So they can condition themselves better. So that's just my thoughts. Now I've got another wee list. People who I think would give Usyk a good fight. And on that list you've got, going way back, you've got Roy Jones Jr., who won a version of the heavyweight title against John Ruiz. So John Ruiz was quite slow of foot as well. And a bit of a... He was a decent fighter, but not one of the best, was he? So Roy Jones managed to beat him. I don't think Roy Jones at that weight would have beaten Usyk. But I think it would have given him a great fight, and it would have been a good fight to watch. A good mix of styles. Roy Jones very fast. At that weight, would he be quicker than Usyk? He'd probably match him for speed anyway. I think Roy Jones at heavyweight wasn't the lightning hands he had at light heavyweight, but and I think Roy Jones's chin isn't as good as, anything like as good as Usyk, so I think Usyk may have got him somehow. I'd probably put him on the back foot. South African Corey Sanders, big puncher, southpaw. I think he would have given Usyk a good fight for a time, but his conditioning would have let him down. I think Usyk would have got to him later, but I think that would have been a good match of styles. Would have been a good fight. Very fast hands, Corey Sanders, for a big man, and he hammered Vladimir Klitschko inside 2 rounds, if you remember right, and he gave Vitali Klitschko a good fight as well, though I think his conditioning let him down in that fight also. Chris Bird, I think he came up from light heavyweight. I think he went way back, or even middleweight, he went way back down to light heavyweight years later after being a heavyweight champion, but he was a slick southpaw as well, and he holds the win over Vitali Klitschko, but I think that was more to do with Vitali Klitschko. I think he had a torn rotator cuff in the shoulder or something like that, and Vitali Klitschko got a lot of stick for that, getting called a quitter and whatnot, but which was a bit unfair. So Chris Bird, he was a slick fighter, and he could have made it interesting for a while, but I think again Usyk would have got him in the end, definitely outpointed him in the least. Merciless Ray Mercer, he was another good fighter back in the day, but he could be outboxed. I think a 42-year-old Larry Holmes outboxed him, but he also gave Lennox Lewis a torrid 10 rounds. And that fight was quite a close fight. I think it was in a small ring, if I remember right. He gave Lewis big trouble for 10 rounds. And some people thought it should have maybe been a draw. You know, Ray Mercer maybe deserved a draw in that fight, but there was no rematch anyway. But he's a tough guy, Ray Mercer, so if he came in the shape he came in against Lewis, he could give... you could make it interesting against Usyk. It'd be a good fight, but again I think Usyk would outpoint him. I don't think he would stop him, because Ray Mercer had a solid chin, really good chin, Ray Mercer. David the Haymaker Hay, he was also a cruiserweight champion, and he won a version of the world title, didn't he, a heavyweight. That would have been an interesting fight. He brought a bit of excitement, Hay, but I think in the end he'd be outboxed by Usyk. Powerful guy, hey, powerful punch. But as we know, Usyk's got a tremendous chin, doesn't he? And again, his conditioning. There's nobody as well conditioned these days as Usyk, I would say. But I think the Haymaker would make it interesting while it lasts. And another one on the list, the last one on people who I think would give Usyk a good fight is Joseph Parker. Now this is a possibility of a fight that might take place, because he's got a fight against the current IBF champion Daniel Triple D Dynamite Dubois. He's got a fight against him on the 22nd of February. Dubois has been calling out Usyk again, hasn't he, in his face after stealing his moment. I thought it was a bit of bad taste. It's one thing, he could have called him out later on, but give Usyk his place. He's just gone through a hard 12 rounds, hasn't he? So show a bit of respect, Dubois. Usyk's already beaten Dubois, and to be honest, I mean, all that nonsense about trying to say it wasn't a low blow. It was a low blow in my book. That's my opinion. There will be people who disagree with me, but it was deemed a low blow. The ref told Usyk to stay down, so he did what he had to do. Had it not been deemed a low blow, I believe Usyk would have got up and ridden out the storm. But it looked to me like he punched him in the bladder. So that is a low blow. It's below the navel. So yeah, if Parker manages to beat Dubois, that's not a given. We'll do more videos than that nearer the time. I'd rather see that fight. I'd rather see Joseph Parker against Usyk than see Usyk against Dubois again. I don't know why Usyk's got to fight everybody twice. And he's fought Joshua twice, beat him twice. He's beaten Fury twice now. It's like if you listen to Simon Jordan on Talk Sport, he's dying to find somebody to beat Usyk, isn't he? That's what it looks like. Maybe not the case, but that's what it looks like to me. That's the perception I get. So if Joseph Parker gets past Dubois, takes his title, I think that would be a more interesting fight. Usyk versus Parker. I would favour Usyk, but I think Parker would give him a good fight, and make it interesting. So that's what I think. That's the guys I think. The first list was who would trouble Usyk, and so that's possibly beat him. We'll never know. This is just hypothetical stuff. You can only fight who's in your own era. And the second list was the guys I think would give him a good fight, make for an interesting matchup, and give him trouble. Make for a good fight anyway. So going on that, I've probably got Usyk for the past 75 years. I've probably got Usyk in the top 8 all-time heavyweight champions. So again, that's just my view. Some people will probably say Mike Tyson, but there's this myth that Mike Tyson knocked everybody out in 1 or 2 rounds. Nonsense. There's quite a few people took Mike Tyson the distance. I've talked about this before. I mean, Mike Tyson was a formidable fighter when he came on the scene, and he was running riot against a lot of people at the time. But Mike Tyson never came back from adversity in a fight. He never got off the floor and came back. So he was a kind of front foot bully. Some people might describe him as. He was alright. He was a good on top fighter. But I think Usyk would manage to beat Mike Tyson, even a prime Mike Tyson. That's my view. You don't have to agree with it. You've maybe got a different view, or maybe you've got the same view. I don't know. Feel free to comment. There's plenty of people who took Mike Tyson a distance in the early days, in his prime, so-called prime. You've got James Quick Tillis, Mitch Blood Green, James Bone Crusher Smith, Tony Tucker. They all took him a distance. So this myth that he was going through everybody, knocking everybody out. He had a great win against Trevor Burbeck, 2nd round knockout. That's probably Mike Tyson's best wins are probably against an aging Larry Holmes. I think he was 38, came back after 2 years layoff. Michael Spinks, who'd come up from light heavyweight, and I think he looked a bit frightened, didn't he? He was very tense coming into the fight, and that's probably. I mean, he came up against Holyfield and he got put in his place, didn't he? Lennox Lewis put him in his place, so he was way past his best by then. So I would say Burbeck, Spinks and Holmes is probably Mike Tyson's best 3 wins, I would say. So, and at that stage in the career, I think Usyk would have beaten all them. He would have beaten Holmes at that stage. I think that's way past Holmes' prime. And he would have beaten Michael Spinks. And he would have beaten Trevor Burbeck. So I also think he'd have beaten Mike Tyson. But in styles make fights, we'll never ever know for sure, will we? But that's my thoughts. So Mike Tyson's not on the list. This is my list, my list. You've got a list. Feel free to share it. But so as it stands at the moment, now that might change in the future. Usyk's not finished yet, I don't think. But at the moment, I would rate Usyk probably number 8 or in the top 8. He might be higher than that, but in the top 8 all-time heavyweight champions. So anyway, that's my thoughts for tonight. If you're interested. Now, a big thanks to everybody for liking, subscribing, sharing my videos, and helping support the channel. It's all very much appreciated. So, and don't forget, Boxers in Need. Don't know if any of you guys have signed up to that yet, but it's a very worthy cause. I believe they're helping send Nick Blackwell away on a holiday. Nick Blackwell got the brain injury against Chris Eubank a number of years back. I don't know how long ago that is. It might be as much as 10 years ago. So they are doing good to help people out, but they need more support and more members so to sign up to it. So if you can, for £12 a year, just £1 a month, please sign up to it. It's for a good cause, to help support these guys that put their life on the line to entertain us. So I think it's a worthy cause, being a boxing fan, and I think any boxing fan should look into it. It'll only take you 5 minutes to look into it and give them your support. I think it's for a great cause. So okay guys, that's all for tonight, and we'll try and get more content out as soon as we can. I've got a wee bit of time this week, so I've been getting a few videos out. So, but we'll see how we go. Okay guys, all the best. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and take care. Good health. Cheers.